Hey there, welcome to Pop Culture Cupid.
I'm Alison, love coach, here to help you single people find your way back to love.
And I'm Michal, I'm a single life coach. I help singles embrace themselves and their singleness, as well as develop a healthy self-relationship.
In this podcast, we will look at how pop culture impacts romance, dating, and your love life.
And each week we'll shoot another arrow through another pop culture delusion.
I thought we weren't going to do the whole cheesy thing.
And then burst into smithereens.
Oh my god, dude, that's so cringe!
Sorry, it's in the intro now.
If you make it through the chaos and you enjoy what you hear, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and go to all the social media.
At Pop Culture Cupid on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy!
Okay. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We haven't been talking for so long, so we have a lot to catch up.
I know. There's this podcast that I listen to that I recommend. It's called Shagged, Married, Annoyed. And they are a British couple who live in the north of England, just beneath Scotland. And they're a married couple and they are so funny. And and their relationship, like they started the podcast 4 years ago now, just as like they were testing it out, because he's a comedian and she's very funny, but she's not famous. Well, she wasn't famous, she is now. And the podcast just exploded. Wow. And the beginning of the podcast, they were just being funny, and like you could tell that they just were doing this as like, you know, oh, by the way, we're just going to record a podcast. And very quickly it became a thing where they were telling each other, I've been keeping this from you because I wanted to tell you during the podcast.
Oh,
and
that's hilarious.
They live together, but they have this strange kind of like relationship to the podcast. It's very funny.
Oh, that's actually a good idea. I'm gonna hide things from you and then just tell you on the podcast.
Exactly. Not like, you know, one day we'll have a podcast and I'll be telling you things like, oh, by the way, but you've already known it for a while.
Yeah. That's really funny. Yeah. I just actually watched, here's something that I was going to tell you and I didn't, so I'm going to do it now on the podcast. Oh my God. And it's so fascinating. Yeah. I just binged watched because I was sick over the last few days. Yeah, like now and yesterday I was fine, but like in the beginning of the week I was like all over the place. But so I was sick. I was binge watching on Netflix a show called Easy. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, but it rings a bell. May have heard about it.
And I don't even know how to describe it. But it's about like relationships and sex and marriage and kids and like from all walks of life, and it's very interesting. It's a bit woke, but it's like what woke should be,
right?
But is now over exaggerated. But this is like woke in a good way, like very soft and gentle and very like with tastes and not in your face. And so there's a lot of interesting dynamics over there and a lot of interesting conversations. And a lot of it is like, I feel like I'm watching someone in their private life and I'm like snooping. It really feels that kind of way. It looks like no one's acting over there. Everyone's just like being themselves. But it's just very interesting to see the different dynamics and how accurate it is to life.
I may watch that. I mean, isn't that what reality TV is anyway? Of just you see, looking at these very intimate moments. There's this couple on YouTube. I don't remember their name, and this isn't going to be amazing publicity for them. Where they show their whole lives on social media, and I saw this clip of them, and she had just given birth to their second child, and she goes to him on the podcast, like, am I still tight enough down there? Do you still enjoy having sex with me? And I'm like, whoa, like this is such an intimate conversation. I don't feel that this, like, whoa. But I guess that's what people kind of, that these online people make their money from. They're showing these very personal, and this was pushed to me because it was probably one of their highest going reels of just this very intimate conversation. It's strange. It's the strange world we live in. It's very,
yeah. You know what's strange though? So you're telling me this, and then I'm like, but on the one hand, when we see it in like a reality show or with someone online who's talking about their personal life, it seems like such a weird TMI thing to do. But like, whereas I was watching this show, and just for an example, there's a couple who's having trouble with their sex life, so they or intimacy or whatever, so they decide to have an open relationship, and they show like these different situations where they go and have sex with other people, where they develop relationships with other people, or where they themselves try to do like um role playing and things like that. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so like they have such private conversations in private situations, but it's a TV show, so it's not weird at all to watch that. But
exactly. And also there's a sense of what's staged. Obviously, you and I, we don't stage a lot of this, but we kind of always know what we're about to talk about. And so maybe I mean, it's only an hour a day or a week of these people's lives, so it's easy to stage. There's this other couple that these high rating videos get pushed to me as algorithms work, where they were looking to adopt. And so I don't follow them, but this is a social media type of couple. They post everything about their lives on YouTube and Instagram and all that, and they do a lot of vlogging, and they are looking to adopt. And the country, I think it's Thailand, the country that they were looking to adopt from, said something along the lines of, for the first year of you having this child in your life, you are not allowed to post anything of them on social media. And I'm not too aware of why and things like that, but I'm aware of the backlash. But because basically they got cancelled over it, and they posted, and they said they had this video of saying, we are deciding to move away from this country because our whole lives are online, and we are so happy to adopt that we want to be able to share this with you and show our child. We understand that some people don't show their children on social media, but we want to do that, and you guys are a part of our community and we want to share it with you, and that's how we see it. And it was actually very interesting because obviously I only heard about these people are getting cancelled because they are not allowed to post their children on social media, and people are stupid. But actually it was a very they seem to have thought about it and just well, sorry, but this is how we make our money, and we're public figures, and this is how we feel about it. And it's not as if they had chosen a child or whatever and then was going against that. It's just beginning of the process, and they realized this, and so they're moving away from it. It was the things we decide to put online, and it's very weird.
Yeah. And also like the thing that comes to my mind is like, why? What is the why behind, also in general in life, I think you have to find your why behind everything you do and everything you fill your life up with. But especially if you're sharing your whole life online, it's like, why are you doing it? And I want to say that a lot of people are doing it so they can also help other people and reach other people in their same situation and inspire and motivate and help and whatever it is. But we live in a world right now where people like the clout and people like the attention, and it's just that. And when someone tells us not to share something, then we're like, then we don't want you in our lives because we want to share. We want I don't know. It just seems, because when I'm thinking like I was saying before about the difference between reality and TV shows, like with TV series, they just provide the storytelling, they provide the entertainment, they provide the morals in the end, or whatever it is, like. And when it's just your life online, I don't know. Well, I'm kind of saying this, and as I'm saying it, I'm kind of feeling like I'm contradicting myself, because also with people who act in shows, they want the clout as well. But who knows? Anyway, I'm digressing. I should probably shut up now.
Well, I know, definitely not. But it's an interesting. It's you are digressing, but you should not shut up. It's just, you kind of, it's a reflection. I have a friend who I'm hoping will come on this podcast. She said this to me once, where if you're feeling a certain type of way, negative way, it's a reflection on how you feel about yourself. Seize that opportunity to understand what is wrong, like, with your perception of yourself. And so, and you talk about these people, is it a bit of jealousy because their life seems so perfect, or is it jealousy because they are succeeding with working online? It's how, it's well, we go deep and we don't go deep. I think that as long as you're not feeling, as long as you don't become a hater, and I say you pointing at myself,
sure.
as long as you don't become one of those internet trolls that you and I both get. I posted something on my Instagram the other day, which was a joke. JT opened our first couple's Christmas present without me.
A boy.
I know.
Oh my God.
I was like, it was a gift to the two of us. I knew what it was. It was from my parents, because I said we would like that, and so they gave it to us. And so I come home on the 23rd of December, and it was open, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
Well, did he do it by mistake, or was it like? Not that I know how you can open a present by mistake, but maybe he saw it and was like, "Oh, I wonder what this is."
No, he knew that it was a present, because we had dinner with my parents like a few days before, and we brought it back. And so, and he knew, we knew what it was, and so it was an air fryer, and so he thought, because he's not into Christmas at all, and so he opened it in the sense that she's gonna be so happy. I've set it up and it's ready to use.
It's kind of adorable.
It is adorable. It is adorable. I came back, I was like, you opened, this was our first, couple's Christmas present. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't open gifts before Christmas. Anyway. And so I posted that online. I thought, this is amazing. I need to be posting things about my, what I think is healthy, not healthy, and these little things that are insignificant, things like that. And I posted that. And some guy just, commented, you need to, why would you put this type of boring shit on the internet? Please stop polluting my feed. And I didn't respond to it.
And I was like, well, then you can just block me and go away.
Exactly.
Like, no, I don't want to be on your feed.
I nearly responded, and Merry Christmas to you, but I thought just avoid it.
Yeah.
I think all this to say, if you're not going to be, don't become one of these people who just says negative stuff for saying negative stuff. Because also, I wasn't criticizing JT. I was laughing with him. Like, I found the situation funny. So it was supposed to be funny. And it was one of my higher performing reels there were anyway. So it just goes to show people enjoy that type of thing. So as long as you as a consumer don't feel like outwardly negative to that person, and as a creator, you're not harming yourself or anyone else. Yeah. I think to each their own. I think that needs to be the boiled down version.
Yeah. I just posted about one of my life's biggest mottos, which is live and let live. I don't understand why the most basic of things that we can't do in life, like we can't, first of all, just focus on living our lives.
Yeah.
And second of all, not focusing on other people's lives so much. It's like, we can't let other people live the way they want to live without giving our 2 cents, and without trying to prove or convince why our way of life is better. Like, what does it matter? Like, we feel the need to always, like, I don't know, give like this little punch below the belt or something.
Yeah, it's bringing other
And
people down.
Exactly, and it really isn't productive in any way. It's not going to make any difference in anyone's life. It's just going to make people more miserable. And if you have nothing nice to say, then don't say it, unless you see someone who really is spreading something toxic and saying something harmful. But if you see someone who's trying to share personal situation from their lives and hope that other people can learn from it and do better, then what's the point of that kind of comment? It's not as if you're making a good point or well-rounded opinion. And it's not as if you're trying to open a discussion that will really make change.
Yeah,
you're just bored, jealous, or whatever it is, and you want to stir up shit.
Exactly. I was talking about this with a friend who may also be interested in coming on the podcast. Where what were we talking about? We were talking about chaos for chaos sake of what were we talking about? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Where I said I don't understand why people do this of just, is it for money? If it is for money, like, how can they live with themselves of just spreading such lies and misinformation of just that? And he responded with something saying this, there's this phenomena in psychology where it's chaos for chaos sake, of just, just like drugs, just like sex, just like alcohol, you don't do it for the gain, you do it for how you feel doing it, and it feels good, and it is just evil for evil's sake. And that is just, it's terrifying. It is terrifying. And yesterday, do you know Dr. Mike on YouTube? He's amazing.
Of course.
He's got 25 million followers. Like, who doesn't know
He
Dr.
came
Mike?
to Israel. I love anyone who comes to visit.
Oh, did he?
I'm joking. He was here. And he saved someone on the flight on the way here.
Oh, was it? Oh, because I heard about when he saved the guy on the flight, and I didn't know he was going to Israel.
I think it was that one. Anyway, I'm guessing here again.
And so yesterday I was listening to one of his podcasts. I don't listen to his podcasts a lot because they're not the format that I enjoy. I watch his videos anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
But this guy, he was interviewing another doctor who's very controversial. If you're interested, I'll send you the link, and we can link it to the episode. Where basically this other doctor was stating things like smoking is good for you and apples are horrible for you. And so Dr. Mike and this other doctor, female doctor that I can't remember her name, and then this controversial doctor were having a conversation where basically Dr. Mike and the female doctor were saying exactly this, of just, there is no like one right way of eating, there is no one right way of living, you just need to kind of see what works for you and stick to that, and then listen to the people who have the same way of living and who make it work so that you can help each other out. But basically, they were saying that veganism isn't the best answer, carnivore diet isn't the best answer, only whole grains isn't the best answer. Like, different people have different ways of functioning. And this other doctor was not saying that. He was saying that we've got everything around, that there are so many people who smoke and live long, healthy lives, that they have other ways of eating that kind of cancel out the negative impacts of smoking. And then he was saying something about apples, that the apples that we are eating are not healthy because they've been transformed. And Dr. Mike was saying, but who's overeating apples? Nobody. And the guy said nobody. And it's just like, so why are we talking about these apples? They'd be better off eating these transformed apples than chocolate, and you're saying that it's the same. And you get to this thing where it is just controversy for controversy's sake, and it's uncomfortable.
It is. And I think what's happening, and oh my God, I've been seeing it so much recently with everything going on. believe me, you don't want to see how ugly it is. But my point is, I think what happens is today is that opinion has become more important than the truth. And so our opinion is our truth, and we try to sell it as the truth. And we get uncomfortable when people try to give us the real truth, or that when they try to oppose us. We don't like that. So if someone, has convinced themselves that, their marriage is the best thing in the world, even if it's like a toxic relationship, or they're trying to convince themselves that their decisions are right because that's, their decision. And, there's the whole cognitive dissonance where you try to match your thoughts to your actions and not your actions to your thoughts. And so someone else comes and shows the other side of the coin, and it makes you feel uncomfortable because, it's raising the truth that you don't want to see, or that you don't want to live by. And because it's harder to actually take action and change our behavior, rather than just changing the way we think about our behavior or our beliefs. And so the truth has somehow become subjective. And every person can twist it the way they see fit, even if it means lying, and if it means spreading toxicity. And we do that a lot also to get followers, to get people to listen to us, because trends are very trendy right now, and so we just follow the herd wherever they may go. And I'm seeing it unfold. How, like, I see it, and I'm sometimes like, how can someone be either so stupid that they believe this and just spread it without actually fact checking anything, or be so evil that they'll actually spread it knowing that it's not the truth. And that's the world we live in right now. So anyway, what was the point? What were we?
Part 2 of bad dates.
Yes. Oh my god,
that wasn't the point. No, but I think we just let's just go straight into that. Because we were talking about just, to each their own, living their own lives, but this isn't the point of the podcast. The point of the podcast is single life, and I enjoy talking about these things, but it is just, it's a never-ending topic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a never-ending topic, and we just enjoy talking about it. Like,
we do.
I can also connect everything to it, like everything in life. Give me, and I'll make a connection somehow, some way.
Well, I mean, you say that in a sense, I don't know, but I agree. You can connect everything, because everything, everything that you hear of, play hard to get, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, you should do, be the right, pay for the first drink, don't message, blah blah blah. Everything kind of connects to everything of just, if you're having a bad time at home, then work will be impacted, and then family life, and then friendships, and everything is connected to each other. And
especially
if you're not
in a world, sorry.
Oh, I mean, if you're not feeling well in your body, then you're not, feeling well at all.
Well, especially in a world and a culture that glorifies one specific status so much, and then deglorifies another one as much as it does. And you sort of inherently feel bad about it, because that's what everyone around you is doing and saying. And you see, like, you look at a relationship from the outside and it looks beautiful and great, but you don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and people usually don't show you. And even more than that, they usually put on a little bit of a show outside, even if they don't realize they're doing it. Like, they show you you're like comparing yourself to the best side of someone else without actually seeing the hard work it took to get there, and or the bad side that they try to hide, or that just don't show in public.
I mean, a good example is there was this couple on I can't remember all the platforms, called Nikki and Pierre.
The gay couple,
and so they broke up,
Oh.
And I agree, they were adorable, and handsome dudes. And so I didn't follow them religiously, but you know how the algorithm works. And one
Yeah.
day I just found out that they broke up, and I kind of this whole thing about consumer, like, we criticize people but we still watch it and things like that.
Yeah.
I went like, oh my god, like, could I have predicted this? And I could not have predicted it, in the sense that they showed a lot of positive stuff, and then one post pops up of just, we're breaking up, we're both going to go on our own Instagram pages, and that's that. And it's just, whoa. And then after that, they both kind of, but it's been bad for a couple of years, and this is happening and this is happening. And it's so, yeah, people will only show what they want you to see. In the same sense that I have this YouTuber that I really love called Layla Martin. She's a tantric teacher, and she used to do a lot of videos with her, I don't know if it was husband or just partner, anyway, the man that was sharing her life, called Andrew. And they did a lot of videos together, and she has this huge success online. And then, out of the blue, so she does a lot of teaching videos with yoga and tantrism and things like that, and he's in them. And then one day a 20-25 minute video shows up of they are breaking up, and this is what's happening. And it's just like, oh my god, you don't know, you just don't know what happens behind closed doors. So stop comparing yourselves to these online, aspire to that. I think by all means you can aspire to the positiveness that they are showing, but don't expect that to be the full reality. And I think that's what I'm kind of thinking of doing. Like, I want to be showing the negative sides as well, but I don't want to be sharing it for negativity. I just want, sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, and that's that.
Yeah. I was just I think it was yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, I was talking to my boyfriend about, I can't remember why we got to this conversation, but I remember I was saying, that argument that we had not long ago, it wasn't fun, it wasn't great, and I didn't like the feeling. And we don't argue a lot at all, knock on wood. But I think it was so important because I learned so much about him and our relationship from that argument. I learned how he reacts in certain situations. I learned how to react to him in these kind of situations. I learned a bit more about his thought process in general and specifically in arguments. And so now I know how to avoid it. If it happens again, I know how to approach it even better. And I know how to talk to him. I know how to compose myself. I know how to react to things. And you learn so much from these supposedly negative situations. And when you learn how to embrace that and learn from them, first of all, you're not as scared from them, and they also help you make the better times even better. And so when you're just showing one side of the coin, people are just going to think, well, I guess they have a happily ever after all the time, and they never fight, and they never do this. And I think it's important to learn that it's okay and it's natural and it's part of being in a relationship, and you can't avoid it. And I think we also live in a culture right now where we don't like to put in the effort. We like it, if it takes too much and if we have to work on it too hard, then it's sort of like we want to give up very easily because we want that, pink, rosy, fun, happily, overly in love relationship that comes easy, but it doesn't really come easy. It takes work and it takes, dedication, and it shouldn't be an uphill battle and it shouldn't be a constant struggle, but it takes
ups and downs.
We have a saying in Hebrew. It doesn't translate very well to English, but I'm going to try and say it anyway, which is basically, if you're having a hard time, it means you're going uphill. So it means like you're going up, you're rising to the top basically, because when you walk uphill, it's harder. So, you know, if it's hard, then it means you're making good progress, that you're not just, you know, walking straight on a straight surface. What's the word for it?
Plane?
Anyway, on a plane.
Plane
Sorry?
surface. A plane surface?
Yeah, I'm saying like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the opposite. Like if you're just walking on a plane surface straight ahead, no uphills, no nothing, then it's what progress or change are you making?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good way of looking at it. And it's, you know, it kind of, you know, it kind of follows the what's, you know, if it's worth having, it's going to ask, you know, it's going to take some hard work to get to.
Yeah.
I think it's just, you know, you want the release sometimes to be a bit easier. And I I am terrible about watching new shows. I will only watch the shows that I like. And so periodically I'll go back to, you know, Charmed and Lost and all these shows that are Grey's Anatomy. And actually I haven't rewatched Grey's Anatomy because 20 seasons later. But I wanted to say that I started watching Desperate Housewives again.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's a lot of
I think you mentioned this, yeah.
It's I love it. And there are some things that are not aging very well, you know, in regards to today's, it's 2004. And then there are certain things that I'm just like, well, at the time it was, you know, toxic and then, you know, and it's not woke anymore and it wouldn't fit anymore. But there are certain things where they do address it, that it is hard and what happens behind closed doors that you're not aware. And actually, I think it's Mark Cherry, the producer of the show. Desperate Housewives is an answer to Sex and the City, where Sex and the City is these four women that talk about their extravagant lives around a cocktail in the city, and they are very open with each other and they know everything about each other's lives. And I think it's Mark Cherry. Anyway, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. Said that's not how women are. Women women will share certain details of their lives with their friends, but they will protect their family and they will protect their intimacy. And, you know, and a lot of things happens behind closed doors that people just do not share. And so Desperate Housewives is an answer to Sex and the City in the sense that we don't think that's how women behave. We think this is how women behave. And you know, I think there are truths in both shows, and that's not the point. But where I am at now in the show is where Lynette, who's married to Tom, is flirting with somebody else. And she's flirting with somebody else because they are going through a rough patch. Like he's hurt, so he's not helping her. She's taking everything on. She's having a hard time with it. And so she's, you know, somebody she's working with is younger, handsome, and is flirting with her, and she's enjoying the attention. And their arc is, you know, things go badly and people flirt with the limit, but it turns out that, and you know, he confronts her about it, the other guy, and she says, you can't, you know, married people go through tough patches and we test the limits, but I will never cross the limit, and this is how I feel about it. And now that you've said it, you know, it was fine whilst we were kind of in the dark about it, but now that it's out in the open, I can't continue talking to you about it because I'm never going to leave my husband, because this is what married people do. We go through these rough patches and help each other out, and you know, and we support each other and we don't give up, and this is what that's it. And I thought that's such a healthy way of presenting the whole situation, because compared to Gabby, who's, you know, this size 00 model full of money, and Susan, who's a klutz, and Edie, who's the slut, and Brie, who's like this overachiever. But Brie also is kind of a good example of just, you know, you will show these things, but actually, you know, I show you my perfect family, but actually my child has killed someone and my other child is blackmailing her teacher.
Yeah.
And I think it was a positive, you know, a lot of the times I'm thinking, God, this is terrible, and then I'm thinking this is actually very good. I mean, Desperate Housewives was one of the best shows. It's 8 seasons long, and these types of messages of just different, you know, everybody lives on the same street. You know, these 5 women live on the same street, and they have different incomes, they have different relationships with men, they have different family lives, they have different ways of dealing with it. And I think it was a very healthy thing of just, you know, just because you seem to be in the same situation does not mean that you are, because of everything else. And I think that's beautiful. I think it was great. That's my love letter to Desperate Housewives.
That was an incredible love letter, very romantic. I think we show what we want people to see. And there are many things that, you know, every person's, I feel like when someone tries so hard to seem perfect, or the perfect it seems, there's more probably hiding under the surface. And it's important to remember that people show you what they want you to see, and you need to make sure to take it with a grain of salt, and certainly not compare your situation to theirs, because that's going to make you feel bad no matter what your situation is. And it's not going to help you better yours. So, you know, you may as well focus on just trying to make the most of where you are in life. And there was a point I was trying to make, and it completely escaped my brain, but
don't compare yourself. People show you what they want you to see.
Yeah, I don't know, you just don't know. Like, I was watching again that show Easy, where there's the same couple that I was talking about, that they have, like, they show that they have such an incredible marriage, but then they have a family, kids, whatever, and then but under the surface there was something missing, and they felt the need to go and open up their marriage and see other people. And so other people can look at them from the outside and say, oh, they look so incredible, but you don't know what's actually going on. You don't know if they're really that faithful to each other, or are they just, you know.
I mean, a while back I was working in this company where I was not like, I was not where I wanted to be at that age, at that time, professionally, personally, and everything. And this other girl, who she and I were, I think, the same age, and she seemed like she had everything. She earned like just about 3 times what I was earning, which was, you know, you don't compare, you know, your value is not what you earn, but, you know, it kind of also, it does show where you are in your life, and, you know, how stable you are. So she was earning 3 times what I was earning. She was married with 2 kids, which at that time I wanted to be, you know, comfortable financially, and I wanted to be married, and I wanted to have at least 1 kid. Certain amount of time later, I'm stable, but I'm not married and haven't got a kid. But at the time, that's what I wanted, and I was comparing myself to her a lot, and it was tough. And then I realized that she was working from 7 a.m. up until 11:30 at night. Like, I saw emails of hers going past at that time, and I overheard conversations of, you know, her husband was away for business and she was away for business, and so they hardly had any time with each other. And she, you know, just had a child, and then a few months later she was off for a couple of weeks for business. And, you know, these business trips, they seem exotic, but people come back from a 1 or 2 week business trip exhausted. You know, she was on the other side of the world, and she did not enjoy her time there. She was working, because there was a time difference, she had to work that business day where she was, and then the French business day, which is where we are. And I was just like, that, it doesn't seem healthy. And I hope she will, you know, I hope that she's still doing fine, and that she will continue on to do fine. but from where I was sitting, I was like, that is not what I want. I want a life where maybe I'm earning less, but I'm spending more time with my family. And now today, you know, I'm living with someone who has a child, and I don't see myself waking up at 6 to start work at 7 and then working up until 11:30 and then going to bed at midnight, not having spent time with them, and then not spending any weekends with them because he's away and then I'm away, and then, you know, nobody's with the kid, and, you know, the kid is with the nanny, and I don't, you know, it's, and that, you know, it's probably fine for her. She was living it in a way where I don't know if she was happy or not with that situation. Hopefully she is, and if she is, then, you know, great for her.
Yeah. we tend to, again, we glorify other people's situations. Like you brought up someone who travels, and you see this a lot, especially with business people who travel the world, but they hate it. They hate traveling because it's exhausting for them. It means sleeping in hotels all the time and not being at home with their family. It means, and even when they travel, they don't get to see anything and do anything interesting. Sorry, there's a loud helicopter flying above it. Well, probably an army jet, but whatever. I'm digressing. I don't know if you can hear that.
No.
Sorry, that completely
Yeah, I can
cut my
imagine
train
that.
of thought.
People traveling don't enjoy.
Yeah, so you know, you don't actually get to see the place you're traveling to. It isn't that much fun. And but people from the outside, all they see is you get to travel and you get to be in all these different countries, and oh my God, it's so amazing for you. And or like when you look at a rich person and say, oh my God, I wish I had their amount of money. But you know, with money comes rich people problems. And I think rich people problems are probably like some of the worst problems
Way
you can
bigger.
have.
Oh yeah.
And on a different scale that you can't even imagine. So look, so you're looking at someone's situation from your perspective without seeing the whole picture.
Yeah.
And I kind of remembered some of the point that I wanted to make beforehand was exactly that. You see situations differently. Even if you're together in a situation with someone else, you each have your own perspective. They say there's 3 sides to every story: his side, her side, and the truth. And so, you know, people just see things differently, whether it's just a matter of opinion because you have different opinions about different values or situations or concepts or subjects or matters or whatever it is. Each person has their own opinion about different things. Or you just see the world differently. Or you can show me, we can both look at the same picture. You will notice one thing, I'll notice another.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that we just don't see. And to take it back again to that show, which I think is littered with great situations that we can
I'm
talk
gonna
about
write
for
it down
hours.
easy.
But yeah. And so there's this professor who's, oh my God, he's such a narcissist. But well, he's a mixture of things. He was like he's an artist, he's a writer, and he's kind of whatever famous. And he used to be a professor, and he finds out that an ex-student of his wrote a book, and there's a chapter of a book about him, and he freaks out about it, and he's like, but I'm trying to rack my brain and remember what happened, and she was my student, and we actually had a good time together. And then they end up sitting and talking about it, and you see like the difference in how you look back at the situation and you see it differently. And she was like, I felt that I was taken advantage of, and you were in a position of power and you were promising me these big things, and then suddenly after we had sex, everything changed and everything was different. And he was like, yeah, I felt like it was weird, but I couldn't understand why, and I didn't know what happened. And then, you know, you see the situations in completely different ways, and you're stuck in your, you know, high and mighty situation in your position of power, and you can't see it from her perspective. Where in this situation, she's inherently in a more vulnerable spot. And no matter how you look at the situation, even if he didn't intend to, you're the one who's taking advantage of her, even though you don't see that. And then that situation impacted her life moving forward. He may have moved on with his life, but that had impacted her to the point where she couldn't do anything for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So, you know, you see things differently, and and for good and for bad, but you know, so you can't judge someone without seeing the whole picture.
Yeah. And I think you know, you also need to be, if you're in good faith, if you were, you know, honestly thinking that this was fine, and you know, and that everything was clear and things like, if you're in good faith, A, give yourself a break, and B, still need to, you know, pay restitution or whatever of just, yeah, well, you were just wrong, and you know, and you fucked up, and that needs to be fine. I mean, I'm 32, and my first boyfriend I had when I was like a couple of weeks before I turned 18, and our sex life wasn't very good, in a sense that I felt that I was forced into certain situations, and yeah, but
Ooh.
I wouldn't call it that word. And some people have tried to fall, and I'm not going to say it because of, you know, the algorithm and things like that, the R word. I'm not going to call it that word because I don't think that it was. And so I'm not going to use the victim word either. Not that I'm avoiding the term victim, it's just that I think that at the time, I genuinely think that it was a misguided behavior on his part, and I think that he thought that it was fine because this was my first time and he wanted me to feel comfortable with it. And
how old were you?
I was 18 and he was 22.
Oh. Whew.
So both of us were very young.
Yeah. Although he should have been like 22 is already an age where you're like, but
I agree, and I'm not forgiving him, and I'm not saying that people should forgive, you know, and this situation was very different, and there was some bad stuff about it, and you know, and all this to say that, you know, 14 years later, I'm still thinking about it, and it's still affecting me in a certain way in my today's relationship.
Yeah.
And maybe one day I'll confront him about it. I don't think so, but I think that if I was to confront him about it, he would be shocked. He would be in good faith shocked that I have this type of memory of him. And this is way deeper than what I was expecting to go today. But I think he would be shocked about it, and he would, I don't know that he would apologize or whatever, but you know, there is the situation where it is, you know, my memory of it, his memory of it, and the truth, and it's, you know, how you address it and things like that. And you know, I've spoken about the situation with different people, and some you need to go to the police, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, and it's a complicated situation. It's very complicated.
It's a very gray area, especially when you're young and you're both so immature. And well, for me, it's different because here at age 22, people, because they go through the army already, so at age 22 here, you're so much more mature than than you should be. So I'm trying to grasp the concept, but I think at that age, I was expecting you to say that you were both like 17, 18, but I feel like at that age, you're still very immature, especially for men mature much slower than women do, and they can't. I've noticed this a lot. Men just cannot grasp a woman's mind. They cannot understand what it's like to be a woman, how a woman thinks, and very often men sort of just assume they think the same as men do, or just treat them as if they think like a man. You know what I mean? Like, and so they don't grasp that in that situation it feels different for women, or they have more emotions tied to it. They are more vulnerable in certain situations, and they just move on and go on with their lives without even thinking about it. And for women, on the one hand, I think on the one hand, for men also, it's like scary these days because for them, they don't know when they're gonna be, you know, charged with assault. But also for women even more so, where it's that point where I was touched uncomfortably, or I was in a situation where I was basically undressed with their eyes, or whatever the situation is, and you have to decide if you want to be that hysterical woman, with quote marks, that is gonna complain now about something, or you're just gonna suck it up. And you have to find that it's
and what you just said about that hysterical woman with speech marks is just like, it is disallowing us to have certain feelings. There's this online, like, her name Candace Owens, I think her name is.
I like her.
I like her, but she said something weird. I like her too, but she
has some weird things that she said sometimes. Yeah,
and she said, and she was pregnant up to her eyeballs, and she was like saying, my feelings that when my husband leaves and and I'm afraid for him, and blah blah blah. Like, that's not right, and I should keep that to myself because it's wrong and it's stupid, and I'm like, well, no, don't negate your own feelings. You can observe the fact that these feelings are probably due to your hormonal state and things like that, but don't send that message that is stupid, because there is something deeper in that. And and this is out of context. I don't want to go into the whole she said this and it's wrong debate, but it's just why are women saying things like is hysterical and these feelings are not valid and things like that? It's just, no. I mean, was it irrational? Yes. But am I completely in the wrong? No. And that's the feelings that I'm having, and and I'm not blaming anyone, I'm not hurting anyone, I'm not stopping anyone from doing anything. It's just, that's what I'm feeling, and I want to feel it.
Exactly. And you should be allowed to feel it.
Exactly.
There's that tension though between, because at the end of the day, a lot of it falls down to intent. Like, people may not have ill intent, they may have good intentions, but they just do something because they think you're enjoying it, they think you want it, they think it's part of the the situation, and they don't realize that it isn't the same for the other person, and your limitations isn't someone else's limitations. You might think it's okay to pat me on the shoulder in a friendly manner, and I might like that, and for me it may feel exaggerated, but for him not. And it's all a matter of the intent of knowing how to be aware of your intentions of what you're doing, and to be aware that the other side may have different intentions, or the other side might not like certain things. But then you also have the side of, like, they don't have ill intent, they don't realize that they're doing something wrong, and you're suffering the consequences of it.
Exactly. And I think that's why it's so the subject of violence in the, like, these sexual violence in relationships, where you'll have this situation where it's like black and white, you should not be doing that, and black and white, you say, like, you need to stop making something out of a mountain out of a molehill. But then you've got this huge gray area where it's like, communication isn't clear enough, and we're not blaming the person who's not communicating, and we're not blaming the person who's in the wrong, but in good faith of just like, I genuinely thought that this was good and the right thing to do. Because it's so, then it's victim blaming and all that, and we're not doing that. It's just, it's a complicated topic. And we started by how did this podcast start?
Well, you know what it all comes back down to, where I say all the time, communication.
Exactly.
Because the other side has no way of knowing if you don't tell them. A man can never know what a woman feels or what a woman wants and needs if they're not told. Especially for men, it works both ways, by the way, but especially for men, they don't know. And a lot of them don't have the conversations with their mothers that they probably should. And if we don't tell a man, and not to excuse men's bad behavior in any way, this doesn't excuse anything, I'm just saying, but if we don't share what we're going through, if we don't tell them what we feel, if we don't tell them that what bothers us, they have no way of knowing. Or if we have, I don't know, even in friendships or in people in our lives, if they are of different race, color, religion, and we do something that bothers them, and we don't know that it it hurts them because they're not telling us, because we're not aware of what it's like to be that. We're not aware of what it's like to be a different race. We're not aware of what it's like to be a different gender. So we don't know what they're feeling. And if you don't tell us, we don't know. Exactly. So a man can go through his whole life with none of his women in his life telling him that that's not okay. And I'm not talking about like extreme behavior, like hitting or mistreating or abuse or whatever. I'm talking about like, the small things in a relationship where they have no idea because no one's ever told them. They have
no idea, yeah. And also, that this message is being pushed to us through social media and online, things like that, of men should be like this and women should be like this, and it's changing now. But our generation is one that's had that message like strong and is working on changing it. But it's change still needs to happen. I was thinking, we'll do a part 2 of relationships another time, I guess. But I was, I'm in touch with a friend who used to be friends with my ex-boyfriend, and he damaged in a whole other type of situation, different guy from I was talking to about just before.
And
I was just thinking, these bad relationships are what pushed me on this like path that I ended up working on, this technique of dating and this technique of learning, quickly learning how people are, and just immediately kind of understanding who they are and asking the right questions. And so just a way of saying that in a strange way, I'm thankful for these types of things because they pushed me on this path, and I've figured out quickly how to understand people and get into the good relationships.
That's important. It's part of life, is learning from experience and turning not every bad thing that happens to us, but try turning the bad things that happen to us into life lessons that help us do better and live a better life in the future. Anyway,
so I mean, next time we'll be talking about something completely different because we've planned our podcast recordings, but we will do a part 2 on relationships and dating and see where these conversations take us. What are your thoughts, dear listener, on today's topic? Comment on
what was today's topic.
I can't remember. We talked about so much stuff. There was Desperate Housewives, there was social media, and there was something we were talking about. Anyway, let us know your thoughts. Did it provoke anything? And we'll respond.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Hit the like and follow.
Yay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.